Welcome to the All Outdoors Photography Podcast with your hosts Henry Doyle and Ryan Taylor, where we discuss all things related to outdoor and nature photography. Today's episode topic was submitted by a listener, and we'll be discussing at length our nature photography workflows from image conception to shutter release to photo editing, and perhaps even printing, matting, and framing our work. Hope you enjoy the show.
All right, welcome back to episode 17 of the All Outdoors Photography Podcast. And today we have a pretty cool topic.
Today we're going to be talking about Henry and I's photography workflows. We're going to be talking about basically everything from planning out our photo trips to going to the location, taking the photographs, of course, and then later on doing post-processing, perhaps even printing and framing our work. Should be a lot of fun to kind of just talk about our processes and kind of compare and contrast them.
Mm-hmm. And like we mentioned in the intro, this was submitted by a viewer. So thank you for that. And if you have an idea, just make sure to send it in to us.
Yeah, definitely. And hit us up on the socials. We're on Instagram. We don't really post on it as much as we should, but give us a follow and we'll give you a follow back.
Alrighty. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to go for our workflow step by step, but we're going to alternate. So I'm going to go over an aspect. Ryan's going to go over an aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just going to be the basic format today. So
cool. Yeah, it should be a lot of overlap though, so it shouldn't be too hard, I think.
All right. Ryan, do you want to go first on your first step?
I might as well, I guess. Yeah. So a typical day in the life of Ryan, outdoor photographer, is sorry. What I do, pretty much what I do. Let's say from the very beginning. Let's say, okay, I have an idea in mind for a shot at a location. I have everything kind of planned out in my head. Let's say I have the idea of like maybe what the lighting would be, the weather, just kind of everything planned out. So what I do is I just kind of look at maybe if there's a trail map, I'll look at that. If it's a new and old location, obviously if it's a new one, I'll be looking at trail maps a lot more closely. If it's an older location and I find a shot or I kind of pre-visualize a shot in mind, then it's a lot easier, I think. But yeah, I just kind of like look over locations, things I want to like look out for and stuff. We kind of mentioned this actually in our locations episode. I forget what episode number, but we talked about just kind of like planning out places, I guess, like if I'm going to a wildlife area, I'll do birds. If I'm going to like a deep woodland, I might do some landscapes, or if there's a waterfall involved, stuff like that. So yeah, I'll just visualize a shot, check the lighting, usually check the weather a couple days in advance and usually the night before just to see if there's any cloud cover. This is if I'm going in the morning, if there's like a sunrise or something potentially, or if it's going to be just a nice overcast lighting throughout the day, which means I can pretty much be shooting freely the entire day if I so choose. So yeah, I just kind of plan out every little aspect of what I'm doing. I very rarely just kind of go spur of the moment, put on my boots and run out the door. I mean, that does happen a lot and it's fun, I will say, but yeah, a lot of my, trips are definitely planned out and I don't even travel far. So it's not really a big deal just to go out for, morning or afternoon, evening. Yeah. And then, I guess if I want to like tag some resources along, I use like a PhotoPills app. It's called PhotoPills on your phone or whatever. And you can do an augmented reality and AR mode, and you can simulate where the sunrise and sunsets are and the directions of it. It's a really neat app for that. So I highly recommend that.
That is definitely a really cool app.
Yeah, that's just one feature. That's my favorite feature. I pretty much, for the most part, that's all I use it for. But it has everything a photographer, at least an outdoor and landscape photographer would need. I'm not sponsored by them anyways. But it's like a $10 app. It's very, very nice. It has depth of field reader meters, I guess. What do you call it? Calculator, sorry. And then, it's focal length things. And it's got like tons of it's jam packed with tons of info. It just makes for an amazing resource in this little app. So what I'm getting at is if I'm on the location, I'll use that pretty often or just to plan out a shoot. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it for me. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So do you kind of plan out specific shots or do you just kind of plan the whole day, if that makes sense? Are you more planning for the weather or planning for like photographs specifically?
Or planning for like the location, just that alone. Yeah, good question. I mean, it's kind of all of them. It's not really much of an answer, but it's kind of just whatever. I do all of them is what I'm saying. So yeah, like I was saying, if like there's a shot in mind at a certain place, certain time, let's say even time of day, time of year, time of like a season or something. I do that quite a lot. Other times I just want to get out with a camera, and maybe it's like, I haven't been to so and so place in a long time, so I'll just go there and just whatever I see is what I see and photograph accordingly. But yeah, it just kind of ebbs and flows. I go through each of the questions or whatever you post to me. I just kind of do each one in moderation, so just to get some variety in there. But I definitely feel like it's essential to plan out stuff to get better photographs. You can be very quick on your feet and just kind of go to places and drop yourself in them, but that doesn't always get you the best shots. It can if you're lucky, but yeah.
Well, for me, I'm gonna have to say for my kind of planning, I would say I'm the complete opposite of you, um, on most of what you talked about. I'm a very I have a very weird schedule, and I'm just very spontaneous. Um, I will. The one area I do a lot of planning on is weather. I'll not go. So, say I want to shoot some waterfalls, I won't go out on a really like a really bright day because I just know I'm not going to get the shots I want. Like if I know I'm going to
Mhm.
a location where I'll be shooting primarily landscapes, I just won't go. So like in that aspect, I do plan. But usually, when I have free time, I just go out and do photography. And I just really have I say probably about 10 locations that are fairly close that I can drive to that I kind of just rotate between, based on what I'm feeling. So, like birds, landscapes, flowers. Um, but I never really specifically plan, I guess, um, like in depth. I'll just kind of look on the day, see what it's like. Like for example, if there's a day that I was planning to shoot landscapes and it's bright and sunny, instead I'll just pick up the bird lens and go to a bird sanctuary near me and just spend the day on birds. So that's
Mm.
just kind of me. I'm very spontaneous. I'm very lucky because I actually, especially with wildlife, I get super lucky and usually I can end up with one or two successful shots no matter. It sounds cocky, but it's like this weird thing. I always see something. Um, it's just really cool. I have no idea how it happens, but it just does. So, um, not quite as lucky for landscapes. I guess that's not so much luck, but more just based on the area around you. But I have a group of set locations that I'll go to. So that's pretty much it for planning. I do pretty much bring the same gear everywhere I go, just because my lenses are fairly light and I don't have too many, so I'll just pretty much leave those in the bag. The one thing that doesn't always go with me is the tripod, and that just depends on whether I'm shooting wildlife or landscapes. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's pretty much it for planning.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, I mean, like I planned a lot of things in life. That's just how I am. But I mean, yeah, I don't plan it down to like the neatest detail. So I mean, I feel like I'm kind of similar to yours in that regard. I just, go out with a certain lens, like you're saying, to a certain place, and you just kind of know what to expect. But then from there, it's kind of whatever you want to, photograph. I guess whatever happens to come upon you. I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yep. Um, and I did mention traveling, and kind of a funny story. I've mentioned this before. I've only started driving recently. So before that, it would take a little bit of extra planning because I would have to build in time for biking. Sometimes sometimes this involved me riding down and riding up hills with a basically 5 pound camera, or probably more than that, heavy camera bag with a tripod that would hit into my helmet as I rode
Oh
because of
no.
how tall it was. And sometimes I would even have to go off trail and mountain bike with my camera gear. So that was quite the experience because I didn't want to leave my bike for it to get stolen and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was quite the experience. I'm lucky enough to be able to drive now. So
Is
that's
it
fun.
is it so
But
much better driving?
yeah, it's just
It's
my
just
photography. It's already improved so much because of it. It's just
that's so great. No, I mean
uh,
that's how I got my start. Was just cycling around, and I went pretty far out, but I had my local patches that were within bicycling distance, and yeah, I did like the same thing, and yeah, I definitely remember tripods just bonking me on the head or hitting something, off to the side when I'm cycling past it, just stuff like that. But yeah, it's cumbersome, but it's just the way it goes. It's just getting out there. You get out any way you can. I've even walked to locations just like on, neighborhoods and stuff, go through those. So, but yeah, driving is a lot better. You can go out farther, of course.
For sure.
Yeah.
And also, a fear for me when I was always on my bike is that it was going to storm and I get caught in the rain with my gear. Now with a
Yeah.
car, now granted, if I'm on a hike, I can't do much about this, but with my car, I can just escape to that.
Hmm.
And even sometimes I did this like once. So I'll do it. I plan to do it more. I have a laptop that I do all my work on. So once I brought my laptop and just did some editing while it was raining, and it was just a quick rain. So
That's
just
cool.
edited some stuff and just went back out. So yeah.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, I mean, I had the same thing too. Actually, I think a few videos on my channel have that, or at least display is where, yeah, inclement weather. If there's like a surprise rainstorm that's really heavy, I'll just like run back to my car and sit in it for a while. And that's a nice thing
Mhm.
because yeah, a bike, it's like you're just kind of screwed unless if you can find some kind of shelter or roofing above you. But yeah, a car is nice to kind of just escape to in that regard.
Yep. And you don't have to worry about it getting stolen all the time.
Yeah, that's true. It's more
Yeah.
reliable, I guess, than a bike.
Yeah.
That's great.
And then kind of the next element we're talking about is the actual capturing of the image itself. So Ryan, can you kind of go into that?
Okay, yeah. So after, let's say, following along with what I was saying, after I plan out a location, maybe a shot idea or two, and then just the weather, everything. Let's just say everything lines up how I like it. Let's just create a little scenario, I guess. So I'm wake up early to get like a sunrise shoot. Let's just say a landscape in this case. Let's just pretend it's a new location. So I got my trail maps, maybe on my phone, both on my phone and printed out, or something of that, combination of that. And I, drive to the location. Let's say maybe it's farther away, and I get to the spot that I had in mind. At least maybe I've seen photos online of something like that. And so I always get there very early before sunrise. Try to at least. I'm not always perfect, of course. We all sleep in and stuff, or the drive takes longer than anticipated. But let's, like I said, this is the ideal conditions. So I get there early before sunrise. It starts to get light out. The blue hour twilight's going on, and then I hike maybe a couple miles onto a trail that I've kind of predetermined, let's say, and then from the trailhead, at least in the parking lot. And then, yeah, I kind of find my ideal spot, set up my gear. Let's just say, because it's a landscape in this case, got the tripod with me, maybe like a wide angle or telephoto lens. Kind of like you, I bring all my gear with me, at least the essentials. Pretty much any trip I take. And the nice thing about cars, you can leave it whatever you don't need in there. Maybe for later
As
on.
long as it's well hidden, to be fair.
Yeah, yeah. My back
Yeah.
seats, like the non-driver seats are all tinted on mine, so it's like you can see in and you
Mhm.
might see something that looks like a bag, but you're not going to see like the nitty gritty.
Yes.
I hope no one steals my Gitzo.
Oh,
So
I might be feeling that.
there's a few times. Um, I will say this totally off topic, but I appreciate, or I can applaud Ben Horn. He leaves his camera out overnight, out in the middle of nowhere. I'm just like, dude, this is so scary. People could just take it
Well, you
in
see,
national
he's
parks.
he's so remote. He's so remote out there.
I
I don't.
guess his biggest enemy is probably wind, because I think it has fallen over more than once
Oh
overnight.
yeah, he's talking about that. Yeah,
Yeah, he talked
and
about it.
animals too.
Yeah, that's true. His photo book that just came out, he talks about that a lot. He's like, yeah, it's fallen over from wind and stuff, and I just couldn't imagine that.
Hmm.
But anyways, so yeah, and I take the shot and I work the angles. What I do is I take the first shot. Let's say in this case, I take the first shot I had in mind. That'd be like the money shot, I guess. It's just kind of like the thing I need to get and what I have in my mind. And then if there's some available light from the sunrise, then I will work the scene. I'll try different, what I call like maybe like secondary shots and just stuff that's kind of like more supplementary. And sometimes those are my favorite shots also, or I like them better than the idea I had in mind originally. So it just kind of depends. And yeah, just work the scene and do that sort of thing. So there's not much else to it, without just discussing camera settings, but I don't want to get that specific with the example.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, obviously, camera settings change between every shot, so that would be
Oh,
quite
definitely.
the example to go into.
Well, yeah, I guess
Um,
in one scene, sorry, I just thought about, yeah, in one
no, go
scene,
ahead. Go ahead.
well, yeah, you raised a good point. Yeah, I mean, like every instance can be different with camera settings, but like overall, like if I'm doing, let's say that sunrise, I'm going to keep my settings pretty consistent across the board. I don't really change them that much. Um, maybe I'll adjust the aperture here and there just by a stop or two of light, but that's about it.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, obviously, for wildlife and versus landscapes, that's going to be vastly different, I would assume. Um,
Oh, definitely, yeah.
yeah. Do you use any kind of custom? I don't know if your camera has them, but like the little custom modes preset settings. Do you
Oh,
use anything like that?
you mean like picture styles?
No, there's like the C1, C2, C3. Do
Oh,
you
yeah,
use those?
yes. Yeah. Good point. I honestly don't know what I've set, but it's like when I bought the camera, I set it to like settings that were, ideal for my type of work and stuff. The one that comes to mind that I know is like a big one I always switch on all my cameras is, or any camera bodies I've had, is the back button focus because I'm a big
Oh,
fan of that.
yes. Hmm.
Yeah, but other than that, it's just kind of fine tuning like focus points and stuff like that, just so like sharpen it, like because I'm trying to think autofocus tracking. If you can basically preset or custom set the distance it does it at, and you can set the time it hunts for focus, and you can sacrifice whether you want it to be speed of focus or just other conditions. It's really technical stuff. I'm not really too like well versed in it, but yeah, back button focus is like the most important one that I always switch on from custom functions.
Yeah. So the custom settings for me at least, I actually have my wildlife. Like I shoot all my wildlife in C1 and C2.
Hmm.
So C1 has the adjusted tracking autofocus, and I use back button focus like you, but instead of back button for the wildlife, I use the actual shutter button focus, so I don't have to press an extra button when I'm tracking a bird. And then I
Hmm.
have my specific tracking autofocus tuned for that in C1, so when I'm shooting a bird in flight. And then C2 is like an animal that's standing still.
Hmm.
So basically, that's what I'll do for that.
So
Um,
it's basically versus Al Servo and like one shot focus,
yeah.
autofocus.
So I find those really helpful.
Okay. Well, if I may ask, I like why do you choose to use the shutter button focus for wildlife in particular?
Well, it basically comes down to the battery grip I just got. So,
Okay.
what a battery grip allows you to do, if the audience doesn't know, is you can hold your camera sideways, kind of just like you're holding it normally. And that has a shutter button on it, but it does not have an AF button like it does on the top, and I can't reach it when I'm shooting like that.
Hmm.
But the shutter button has the ability to do focusing. So for
Okay.
wildlife, I switched to that so I can do focusing on both shutter buttons, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it does to me at least. Yeah. I
A
mean,
little bit complicated, but yeah.
no, I mean you said it well. It's yeah, but I was gonna say it's like the button, like the camera's smart enough because I have a battery grip too, a Canon one, and it's smart enough to know if you have back button focus that you can obviously with the battery grip double that back button focus and use it on there as well. But yeah, I mean if you can't reach it, I guess that's totally a valid point. But I just use it throughout for pretty much all my photography. I kind of got accustomed to using that and not using the shutter because I just think it's interesting because you want it to be all on you want it to all be on one button, but for me I kind of like it to uh, just separate it, I guess, and put it on two different buttons. But I mean it's everyone's taste, I guess. Everyone kind of does it differently.
Mhm. And for landscapes, I'm definitely all back button because I
Hmm.
obviously understand the dangers of having it on the shutter for landscapes. Like if you're shooting and you accidentally focus on like a fern or something in your foreground, that could be
Yeah,
very negative.
that might be the problem I have with it is because if you press it down too far, obviously you take a shot or whatever, and I'd rather just not run that risk and just kind of use a separate button because
For sure.
like my thumb isn't really doing any. If I want to get technical here, like when you're gripping a camera, my right hand, like the thumb's not really doing anything on that, the backside of the camera. Whether I'm doing wildlife or landscape doesn't really matter. And so I'd rather kind of put it to work, I guess. So it's like I'd rather use it to focus so I can take that off my mind using the index finger on that same hand. But
Hmm. For
yeah,
sure.
to each his own.
Now coming into my actual photo capture, um, like I said, I'm very spontaneous, so I kind of walk around. If I see something I want to shoot, I'll shoot it. I do the different angles like you. Of course, I do the primary shot first. And I use an L bracket, so I like to do the
Mm,
horizontal.
me too.
And yeah, I think we have the same one actually. And vertical composition. So I will always do that. Just kind of like the same scene on the tripod. I will do both, just to
Hmm.
see. And usually for me, well, I'll get into that in editing. I was going to say how I crop things, but never mind.
Well,
But
you can crop in camera technically.
yeah, sometimes I will crop in camera, but that's actually very rare for me because I like to have that freedom. I know you can reverse it in editing if you crop in camera, but I like to just shoot full frame, just in case. I don't know. It just
Actually, yeah, not to get you off topic, but like, because I've done it like once or twice. I can't find the setting for the life of me now. I don't know where it's at on my camera. I know it's on live view, but like, so is it kind of like the same as like white balance on a raw file? Like, does it make a difference? Because you're saying you can bring it back. Is it kind of like that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so basically it's like a non-destructive crop, so
Okay.
the detail is still captured. There's these little lines in your viewfinder that or in your live view that'll show up. Like when you're reviewing your image, there's these lines, and it'll do the same. At least in Lightroom for me, I don't know about your software.
Luminar.
Um, yeah, so I can free that. Like if I shoot 4:3, I can take it back to whatever the native aspect ratio is.
Hmm. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to dig through my manual, I
Mhm.
think, and try and find that setting again because it's pretty neat. It helps you really visualize your shots, in the field
Yeah.
better.
Uh,
Because I do
I
crop a
I do
lot.
I do wish cameras had more options. At least mine, probably yours too, because it's Canon as well. Mine only has like 4:3 and then like 16:9, and I'm usually an
Hmm.
8:10 or 1:1,
Is
so it's
yours
hard for. Yeah,
is yours full frame?
yeah, it is. So
Okay,
that's probably causes some differences,
because
I would guess.
I'm APS-C and it's probably, yeah. I bet the ratio is a little different, or maybe the amounts of like different crops you can do are probably different.
Uh huh.
Just guessing though. Maybe even each camera brand's different, honestly. But I don't
Yeah,
know.
or even each camera model. Yeah,
Oh,
depending
geez.
on the megapixels and stuff.
Yeah, panoramic
Yeah.
cameras.
Uh
Anyways, you were saying.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of work the scene, do the angles. I'm not really right now. I'm not really a big golden hour or sunset person. I'm kind of a middle of the day, which I know is bad. I know it's bad, but I like sleeping, and
I
I
get
don't
you.
know.
Definitely.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I'm sure this summer I'll get into that more. It's just right now, I'm happy with the images I get during the day, especially wildlife. Like I don't feel a need to get up early for wildlife. Now for landscapes maybe, but where I live there's not really the most amazing landscapes. So I find they can be captured pretty well in nice neutral light. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, so that's when I'm usually out. I've mentioned this before, but I've been experimenting a little bit with like handheld shooting, but still mostly tied down to the tripod, which I do really like because you can refine compositions and stuff.
Hmm.
Um,
It frees up your hands, I think, too, which is really nice.
mhm. And yeah, yeah, and it just I don't know, it just adds an extra stability too. You can position it in interesting ways and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
And then kind of for my lens recently I switched from like a 2470 and 7200 to a super zoom, and people might think, oh, the quality's so bad, but this one doesn't have bad quality. And it's really nice. It's a 24 to 240. I really love it for
Wow.
like for I know it's crazy. It's RF, so it's built for my mirrorless camera, so it's nice and light, but it was not cheap. It was like 1200, 1300. um,
That's still pretty good.
Yeah, it's f4 to 6.3, which is pretty. That's the
That's pretty good.
aperture. That's
That's
all the
pretty.
aperture I need.
That's not
Yeah.
bad. Yeah.
Uh
Can't knock
huh.
that.
And that's great for composition. I don't have to switch lenses anymore. So right now, basically, I have a dedicated landscape, a dedicated wildlife lens. My 600 for wildlife, my 24 to 240 for landscape. So it's really nice because I can get any kind of shot with that lens. So I can just kind of post up and just zoom and zoom out. So I'm probably in the next year or so, I'll get a more wide angle lens, like maybe a Canon has like a 15 to 35 and 16 to 35. But
Um,
for now, I'm
24 to
what?
70 is a good one.
Yeah, I already have the 24-70 basically though, since it's 24-240. So,
Fair enough. That's
uh,
neat. That's really neat lens. It sounds like
mhm.
a nice walk around one.
And it's not quite as sharp as maybe the 24-70 I've owned in the past, but the autofocus is much better. It's lighter, and I sharpness is really subjective too. Um, like it's not like it's soft. I
Hmm.
don't know. It's hard to explain. It's still nice and sharp. Pretty much all lenses today are sharp. Um, so yeah, that's really helped with my like composition and photo taking out there, because before that I would always have to decide what lens I wanted, and I always would feel like I was locked into a certain focal length. So now I just can kind of work the scene
Hmm.
with that. So yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's neat.
Mm.
Yeah, I guess I will add to mine, since you brought it up. The times of day are very pertinent to, I guess, my trips. So if I'm going to like, a lot of times when I pre-scout, what I call pre-scouting is like I'll go to a location. I might not even bring the camera, honestly, or I'll just walk around with like a lens attached in, around my neck or something. And I'll usually go to those midday just because I want to get a feel for the location, maybe like the trails if there is any, and just kind of see what's there in general. Not really, I'm concerned about taking shots, but it's just another kind of step in the planning process for me. But yeah, if I've like definitely have a shot in mind, and it might be like early morning or late evening, golden hour, twilight, whatever kind of lighting, then I will obviously take that shot or at least plan for it. But yeah, I mean, I do a lot of midday shooting as well, like you. I actually find, since you brought up landscapes with that, is that converting them to black and white is really, really nice with doing like midday light because you get that high contrast look.
For
But
sure.
but yeah, it desaturates. You make it black and white. And it looks really nice.
Yes, I definitely agree. And even sometimes black and whites on the really, really harsh days too.
Yeah.
As long as the highlights aren't too bright, you can get some really nice, interesting compositions with that.
Yeah,
Um,
if you properly expose it, like it can't go wrong. And honestly, the results look really, really good. Like you, sometimes you can't even tell is midday light,
mhm.
just with the way the image might be composed or whatnot. But it's, to any beginners out there that might be wondering, it's like just go out and photograph. Don't really worry about the time of day. I always think there's like a shot out there. It doesn't matter when or whatnot. What time of day, doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Yeah.
Well, unless it's like pitch black. I mean, you could do
Yeah,
astrophotography, but
you can do
besides
a lot
that,
with that. Bring your flashes.
yeah. Uh,
That's neat. So yeah, what would be like your next step? I guess. So you take the shot, and what do you do then?
so after I take the shot, I'll review it a bit. I should probably do more reviewing in the field. Um,
Yeah.
like I feel like sometimes I just kind of lack on that. But usually, if I remember, I'll kind of check focus. I'll look through my viewfinder and zoom in to the image, because with mirrorless cameras, you can like preview the image in there, which is
Mhm.
nice, like
That's
in the
cool.
viewfinder. Yeah. Hashtag mirrorless for life. Um,
Hooked on mirrorless.
hashtag DSLR suck. No, just kidding. They're good. They're good. Uh,
It's not as good.
uh, well, yeah. Uh,
That's
yeah.
another podcast episode, I think.
Uh, that'd be a good
that,
idea.
that,
But
yeah.
yeah. Uh, uh, let's see. Yeah, after I take the image, I'll do that. I mean, that's pretty much it. I'll just put my camera back in my bag and look for the next image. I mean,
Yeah.
and then I'll go home and I'll start the editing process. If you want to get into your editing process first, I'd be.
Yeah. I mean, well, let me start with where I left off, I guess. So yeah, like kind of like you, it's almost the same thing. Yeah, I take the shot or shots. Usually, I take more than one because digital is nice like that. And I like to have an overly large amount of material to work with. I'm not one that just takes one shot and calls it a day. So yeah, I'll take the shot, and then same thing. I'll just like hike around a little bit. I might take other images of anything else I have in mind, or anything that just sticks out to me that might be a little bit of a surprise. Something I'm not really planned for. And then I just eventually I call it a day. Usually it's because the lighting might get too harsh, or my motivation, or maybe I'm just really hungry or something. There's a lot of variables. Or and then I'll just go home. So like for editing, I guess I don't really like to edit immediately, like that same day. I don't know. Everyone's different, but like my problem is that you kind of, especially if it's a good productive day out, I kind of get too hyped up and I might over edit. I'll oversaturate and I'll just, go
Mhm.
kind of, what I mean, I kind of just go off the deep end and just kind of make really exciting looking images that are just too overblown for my taste. So honestly, I'll wait at most a day or two. I mean, at the least I'll wait a day or two. At the most, I've taken month or two before I even get back to an image. And I
I
feel like
don't understand how you do that. That's a
it's
lot
it's
of patience.
it's yes. Well, it's just life and other business, and plus, when you go out multiple times in a couple weeks, it adds up quick, and you just don't get around to it until you get a batch done. So, I guess one recent example is I just the other day finished editing stuff from like mid September, so like a month and a half.
Wow.
It's almost 2 months ago, and it's honestly kind of neat because then you kind of it's almost like memories at that point. So going through these images, I'm like, wow, I kind of it's like I remember how it felt being there in that moment, taking that image or whatever, and like it brings back all the memories. And I feel like just waiting, kind of what I call sleeping on the image a little bit, or just the files, is because you just kind of look at it more with an objective eye. You look at it later on, you go like, okay,
Mhm.
those are cool shots, and you're less likely to like over edit, I guess, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah. Do you have any techniques like as you import? Like, is there anything special you do? Or
It's funny. A lot of people, kids these days, they like to use their Wi-Fi, like their near field communications to like wirelessly transport images or upload
uh-huh.
instantly to social media. I'm very old fashioned. I use the tried and true USB cable, micro USB, and I just
Ah,
I plug it straight via USB to my computer, my desktop. Um, and so
see, I use the SD card, so I'm even more traditional, I guess.
I guess I'm just lazy. I just like to open the side port and just plug it in direct.
Uh-huh.
Because I used to do that too, but yeah, to each his own. I just don't want to handle the cards if I have greasy fingers or something. You never know, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, so I'll plug it in directly camera to the computer. Let's see, and then obviously I open up the folder that has it, the respective, raw files in my case. And then I don't even open them yet. I immediately just, control A on Windows, copy paste, and I put them in a folder on my hard drive for my desktop. And then that backs up with like a backup syncing software, which is pretty neat. So yeah, I'll just take that and I sort, if I want to get real deep here, might as well. Let's see, I sort my files, my raw files at least, by year, month, location in that order. So keeps everything nice and clean. And obviously the raw files and the folders are time stamped for like when I took them and all that stuff. So it makes everything really nice and easy. And then I just do that month by month and year by year. So it's pretty nicely laid out. That's how I like to sort and organize everything. It's easy for me. I could be like, all right, I went to this local wetland 2016. I think it was spring, so I have a May folder, and I went there. So it's easy to find stuff like that for me personally. So yeah, and then I take all those, I batch copy paste the raw files, and then I'll just open up in order, and I'll just go one by one, and just I immediately delete ones that are clearly out of focus, clearly overexposed and underexposed to the point where I can't recover, light and shadow detail. So just really obviously bad shots, junk shots that I'll delete, right off the bat. And so I sit down with like a pen and paper basically next to me on my desk, and I will write out the file names with commas separating them. So I have this big beefy list, let's say, of a trip I went on, and then I just open up pretty much one by one. I'll batch process sometimes, but I'll just open up the shots, the image files one by one, and edit them just in order. And I start with basic adjustments like global sliders and stuff like that. A few times I'll use more intensive kind of editing styles like clone and stamp, maybe stuff like HSL filters. I don't do too much masking. Probably should learn that stuff more.
Like,
Um,
what do you mean by masking? Like little,
like or image masks.
oh,
Like
like local adjustments and stuff.
yeah, just stuff where you add layers and stuff. Really don't. I mean, the most I do is like HDR, but even that's like AI editing in my case. So
Hmm.
or focus stacking, or panorama stitching. Those are like the main ones. But yeah, I just open up in my basic photo editor of choice, edit them each one by one, export them to my saved folder. And I have my saved folders to match via subject matter. So if it's a bird shot, I have like a songbird folder, and it's also mirrored onto my website. I know there's a lot going on here if you can visualize it, but that's just the method to the madness. There's a lot to it.
This would make a good video too.
Yeah, like a screen recording or something. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And then and it's cool because I'll go through. Let me just speed this up a little bit, but I'll just go through all my images, edit them, export them, and then I have a neat software that actually downscales the file size. So for JPEGs, I mean, because I export in JPEG without reducing the image quality, and it'll have like the file size without reducing quality. It's really really neat software. And that will I'll pretty much, when I have a finished batch of photos edited and done, I will title them, of course, what the subject is or whatnot, and catalog them that way. It's easier for me. And then I'll downsize the JPEG files. Then I upload them on my website. And fortunately, I have SmugMug, which is really nice. They have unlimited storage for life as long as you have a plan. And so basically gets a cloud storage backup for me. So I have 2 hard drives for local, technically 3 if you count the computer hard drive, and then I have a cloud one, which is like nice and secure, of course. So I got several options around me and on the web. And then that's pretty much my backup. And I think that's enough talking. But there's a lot to it. But it's a workflow I don't. This isn't like a day one thing. This is something I've not mastered, but just kind of developed over time, and kind of found what works for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, you know, all that stuff sounds complicated, but it is pretty much essential. I mean, you got to have backups, you got to have organization, because you never know what gems there are in your raw files.
And
You got to be able to find that easily and everything.
don't take our word as law here, because I mean, if you want to use this as guidelines to maybe just to start, if you're beginning, sure, but like this is just what works for us. Maybe we should have said at the beginning of the episode, but there's no right or wrong for workflow. Anything's possible. It's just whatever works for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what do you do after you take the shot and you get home and you edit? What do you do from there?
So I'm very classic. I'll take the SD card out of the camera, just because I found that the write speeds are much faster, like the transfer speeds. So I will transfer. I'll drag the files to my SSD, which is my fast hard drive. That's 1 terabyte, and that's what I edit off of. So that goes into a folder that is marked by date. I don't do locations like you. I'm not quite as in depth. But that's date. So I have like a folder for each month. I should probably starting next year when I get a new Lightroom catalog. I'm going to do more intuitive organization. But for now, that's what I do. So it goes into there. After it goes into the SSD, I instantly send that to another hard drive. So I have a double backup of the raw files. And that's also backing up to the cloud. So I've got a triple backup. And that's what people recommend. So that's what I do. And that backup drive is just basically backup. So if the SSD fails, I have it on there, because it is kind of slow. So I don't like editing off of there. So I'll edit off of my faster one. And then after that, I import into Lightroom, which is my photo editing software of choice. It's the classic version. So like the computer focused. And I'll build one-to-one previews, which is literally kind of rendering the entire image. So that takes quite a while as well. It also takes up extra storage, but it's definitely worth it because you can see like the full sharpness and the full quality of your images. And then I don't really have any organization in Lightroom, mostly just by date again. And that's pretty much it for importing. Once I do a shoot, I'll go through kind of, you can set color labels in Lightroom. So especially when I'm doing wildlife, when I have like thousands, well, not thousands, but like hundreds of frames, I'll do like the color green for ones I think are potential photos. Like I'll label the photo green. And then for the final photos, once I've edited and exported, I'll label them purple so I know to go back to those. Like those are the ones I've edited in case I want to make a change. So that's kind of my process for that. I won't really throw out any images. I probably should once again, but I take a lot of bad images like motion blur and stuff, so I don't want to deal with them, and I have enough storage at the moment that it's not really a problem. Probably when I switch to a new catalog, I'll go through my old one and delete some bad ones, but for now they just stay in there. And you never know too. Like if you batch delete things, you could delete a hidden gem that you haven't edited.
I've
Um,
done that.
yeah.
uh,
Uh,
Yellow rumped warbler, I'm looking at you.
uh-huh.
Anyways,
But
sorry.
unlike you, I'm kind of a quick editor. Usually the day of, at the latest, a couple days after. I just get excited, like you said, and I'm not really a person that spends hours on images unless it's a really really important landscape or something. Sometimes I'll take that into Photoshop and do some focus stacking, dodging and burning, really advanced techniques that I honestly don't know how to do, and I just kind of like chaotically make my way through that process.
Just guess
Yeah,
around, hope for the
uh,
best.
but mostly I stay in Lightroom. I'll use HSL. I'll use masking, especially a radial filter, so I can like adjust different parts of the image, change the exposure. I'll do a bunch of dodging and burning in Lightroom as well. Um, I basically use pretty much all the editing panels in there. But I'm not really an over editor. I don't like to. I'm kind of a realist with images. I'd like to think, and I mean I feel like both of us we're not really the type that do like the oversaturated, super unrealistic images.
No,
Uh,
yeah, not really.
yeah, but I still do a bunch of editing into my image to because I like a perfect balance of highlight and shadow. I'm not like a big HDR person, so I like to make sure there's still dark shadows and bright highlights, um,
Mhm.
and a good amount of color, but not too much. I use split toning. I don't know if your editing software has this. Uh,
Yes, it has like yeah, split toning and curves. I really don't mess with those too much. I just stick to like
mhm.
HSL for that kind of. If I want to
Yeah.
saturate specific colors or something.
So basically, what split toning is, I can make the highlights a certain color and the shadows a certain color. So if you want to make a
Mm,
cool two tone image, that's a really good way to do that, and that's what I do quite often.
that's neat.
Um, and that's pretty much it for editing. When I export, it goes to my bigger hard drive, and that's synced with Google Photos. That's just another way to back up things, and also it's an easy way to have the photos on my phone.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Neat.
yeah, and then that's pretty much it. I do a couple other things for printing and Instagram, but I'll let Ryan go into his process first before that. So
Let me back up one more time. Yeah, because
yeah, sure.
every time I hear it's neat because every time I hear your process, I think of other things that kind of bounce off mine. Yeah. So my SmugMug website, they have a mobile app where it pretty much is like the same thing. I can pull up any photo I have on there, which is super useful. Like if I'm sharing with a client or just sharing my portfolio, or maybe I want to check up on an image or something. So yeah, that's really neat. Do you actually? I gotta ask you a question. Do you like take multiple edits of like the same image? Because I'll do that, especially with like crops, or if I want to do like a black and white and a color. Do you do that kind of thing?
Um, for portrait photography, I do that. Like I send my clients a black and white and a color, but not really for my personal photography.
Hmm.
What I do go back to images frequently. Like I'll be unhappy with the exposure, so I'll go in and adjust it. Besides that, I don't really go back.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've gone back like you said to like images before in the in the past, and I'll be like, why did I edit this? Like the greens are way too green. It's what I call alien green, where it's like really like vibrant and neon. And I'll re-edit it so it looks more natural, stuff like that. But yeah, I'm kind of the same way. It just depends, you know. I like to make multiple copies if I can, though, just to have different options, especially if I'm posting to Instagram, like you said, where I want something that's a little more square.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Yeah. So I guess yeah. So the ending of
Oh wait, sorry. Can I mention one more thing about editing?
oh sure, go ahead.
I generally do a lot of cropping. Well, not a lot of cropping, but I don't like crop to whatever I want to crop to. I just do a specific aspect ratio. So I find myself generally ending up in an 8:10 or 1:1 crop. Personally, that's just the look I like. Call me Thomas Heaton or whatever, but that's what I like to do. So yeah,
I'm a big fan of the square crops, so and he likes those too. I know.
yes, he definitely does.
I think his newest his next calendar is I think just entirely square photos, if I recall. Or yeah,
Yes,
I
it
think so.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's funny.
and very minimalistic, hyper minimalistic.
Well, yeah, that's been his style lately too. Yeah, so for let's see, I guess the end of my process. So what I'll do is if I so choose, I'll print out the image. I'll either do it with myself with a cheap Canon photo printer, or I'll take it, export it to a print lab, and they'll, fulfill it. And then pretty much from there, just take the image, print it. I'll do different sizes, colors, paper finishes, and just choose a size that I particularly like and all that. And let's say in this case, I'm going to mat and frame it. So I have a bevel mat cutter in my I guess my space over in my desk, and I'll cut the mat myself, maybe from a big sheet, or I'll have a pre-cut mat if I have something like specific size in mind. And then I'll choose out a frame and just put it all together. Pretty much, it's like a big kind of piece, I guess, that just all kind of goes together, and then you have a finished product.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it, obviously, but that's just like the quick answer. But
Mm.
yeah, I don't
And
I don't always print, but like when I do, it's like an image I'm really proud of, or it's something I want to like display in one of my galleries or something like that.
yeah, and remind me, do you have like a full size printer, or are you
It's up to 13 by 19.
okay?
For
So
anyone's curious, it's the Canon IP8720. So it's a very budget one, but it's a really nice photo printer, and I've thrown so many papers at it, Canon and otherwise, and it prints them all really well. So, but it's up to 13 by 19.
awesome. And will you ever send that out to a print lab as well if you don't have the right size?
Yes, yeah, I've done that a lot with because I have a few panoramic sizes I've done, or just stuff that's really larger, obviously larger than that size, and yeah, I take them to like Bay Photo or something and have them print them.
Cool. Personally, I've done like zero printing, in-house printing. I'd love to get into it more, but I just don't have a printer. So, uh, but
Mhm. It's
what
like it's something that not everyone gets into, which I can totally understand because it costs a lot of money, like ink and stuff. But I find it personally fulfilling, and image can live online, but like at the same time, when you print it, it's like an extra special tactile feel to it.
what percentage of pictures would you say you print?
Uh,
Like
10%.
that's I mean that's still a pretty high number. You produce a good amount of pictures, so
Well, yeah, like I said, it all costs money, so I don't do it too often. But yeah, it's like when I do, it's like an image or something I'm really proud of, or like I just have an idea how to present it that I want to do. So,
yes,
so
awesome.
what do you do to end?
Um, well, I like I said I don't print, but right now, primarily where my work goes is to Instagram. So for a while I use kind of like Ryan does. I do the white borders on Instagram, and for a while I was using like an app on my phone to get the white borders. But in the past couple months, I've been putting my photos on white borders in Photoshop. So that allows me to export as the resolution for Instagram. So there's no downscaling, and I export all of those in a 1:1 crop, so my feed all looks the same, if that makes sense.
See,
Like it's all the same size.
yeah,
So that's basically all I do. I do some smart sharpening on top of the sharpening I'll do in my editing. So in Photoshop, I'll do extra web sharpening to make it look a little bit more web oriented, I guess. That's it. I will print occasionally. I'd say probably I print something once a month, maybe. I use my local camera shop's print lab. They're pretty cheap, which is nice. And what I do for that is I will make a separate file. Like I'll duplicate my file, and I'll generally turn up the exposure for a bit, because I don't know if you experienced this, Ryan, but I used to have problems with my images coming out vastly underexposed. So I really,
Sometimes.
yeah, that's probably just my monitor calibration, but uh, I'll generally do that, and I'll also do print sharpening. So there's different presets in my editing, so I'll turn on that preset so it looks nice and crispy.
That's nice. Cool.
And that's it. So
Yeah, not bad. So you don't print really often. It's just more about showing on the web or Instagram.
yeah, and of course once I start getting into more printing, that'll change. But for now, that's what I do.
Hmm. Yeah, that's cool. Like I said, it's a whole nother step really, and it's one I've in recent years experimented with, and I just find it very fulfilling. It's definitely something different about seeing it in person. You know, I don't know how to describe it. It's just seeing your work on a wall, like in a gallery or even your own house. Just people appreciating it for what it is, and just even if you want to get technical, it's like even just like the matte color choice and just every little detail of the frame you choose. It all kind of goes together in making like the
Mhm.
completed like piece, I guess.
Yep.
So I just really like all that kind of decorating creative process with it.
You're definitely fulfilling the step you lost. We lost when we switched to digital. Like you're really completing the process because film was uh, capture, development, print, and now it just feels like it's capture, editing, social
Share.
media. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
your likes determine the worth of your photo for some people, and that's what it's kind of become. And I really admire people who print because it's a nice detachment from that. So
Definitely. And plus, it's like you can upload a really saturated image. I've noticed this with mine. If I upload one that's really bright and like just lots of color, it gets more likes. But like something that's underexposed purposely or just more subdued, they might not like it as much.
yeah, that's what I've noticed as well. When I look back at my Instagram account, kind of my old images from about 2 years ago, where I would just, like you said, kind of oversaturate it, crazy expose, like weird exposures, weird settings, just
Every, Everything's like bright. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
like
Overexposed.
I would really experience those experiment with HDR or HSL. So I'd like get rid of all the colors except one, and those always got like tons of likes. And nowadays, I'm posting these images that take a lot of thought and process and less likes, and I'm not complaining because I know
Yeah.
Instagram's just it's just a social media. I shouldn't take it seriously, but it's just funny how kind of Instagram kind of skews your view of photography sometimes.
People just want they don't want to see reality. Maybe I don't know.
Mhm. Well, it's when you're scrolling, you don't necessarily have time to look, admire the composition. They can
Oh yeah.
just admire what pops out to them.
It's what makes them stop scrolling and go like, oh, that's cool. Yeah,
Yep.
I get that. Well,
That's
is
yeah. I
is
was
there
just gonna say that's why I've met some of the best photographers on Instagram, including like you and Rylan
I'll
and
stop.
many other people. And
I'll
we're
ever
not
guess.
insane, we're not insanely famous. And we have, I would say, or at least you guys. I don't know about me, but you guys have pretty much world class images. I would say, and
Thank you.
when you compare them to some of the top photographers, they're not much better. It's just their difference is they use these brightly colored blended exposures that just
Well,
draw attention in.
not, yeah, but not always. I mean, I see it as they put in the work and they, over the years or something,
Mhm.
just gained a following that way.
For sure.
So
Yeah. I'm not undermining them. I'm just saying it's just
I no,
interesting how that
I
works.
understand. I do that sometimes actually. Not gonna lie. I'll be like this big name person. I'm like, why does this have 1,000 likes? It's not
Mhm.
that good. But it's subjectivity because everyone it's art.
Yes. All right.
So is there anything else you had to add to your workflow? Or that's pretty much it for mine.
I don't think so. No.
Cool. Cool. Did you have
You
any
got any
updates?
announcements?
Yeah, oh, okay.
I'm gonna
Jinx.
cut that.
No, keep it in. That's funny.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a couple I can rattle off here real quick.
All
Yeah,
right.
so my ongoing freelance kind of association, nonprofit, ongoing working relationship with them. I'm going to be just had a call the other day about doing a video project. So I'm basically getting commissioned to make a 3-minute video. I'm going to be recording pretty much all of it and doing I'm not going to be doing some voiceover. The director's actually going to be doing, I guess, but still, I'm going to be recording a lot of video for them and doing like a 3-minute like short film, I guess, talking about some local park properties and wetlands that they have. So that'll be a lot of fun putting that together and such. And other than that, be on the lookout because I mark my words. This is me right now putting it down. I'm going to have a calendar by the end of the year, probably start in December. And I want to get a photo book out for like this year, as in like a retrospective of like 2020 photos I take and such. Just
Awesome.
something nice and small to kind of break the ice and say I can finally say I made a book. But yeah, hold me accountable, everyone, because I want to get those 2 out by the end of the year. So, but
You
yeah,
got a lot of work out of you. The end of the year is coming fast.
I know. Yeah, I'm waiting till last minute. Probably next month I'll start those, but it shouldn't be too bad. I think. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Do you have any announcements?
I have a couple. I'm going to be making my return to YouTube this week, which is
Ooh.
I had to take a break just for schoolwork, and I'm working on a application for this intensive photography program. But
Hmm,
I'm starting to finish that up, so I've got free time again.
cool.
So be looking out for that. This week's video is going to be about astrophotography. And
Ooh.
I did kind of my first serious attempt at that this weekend. I did like 20-minute, 30-minute exposures. Really cool results. So
Star trails and stuff, Milky Way or
yeah,
what?
I got. You'll see this tomorrow on my Instagram. Actually, well, not tomorrow for the listeners, but for you, Ryan. Um,
Okay.
I got some great results. I'm really proud of. So I'm gonna do a video on that, just kind of going through that and my settings and stuff. So that'll be fun.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool.
And then I'm also considering a calendar. I don't know if I have time, but I definitely think I'm gonna at least try
It
to
can't be
do
that
one.
hard. I
Yeah.
mean, I haven't like shopped around per se, but like I'm looking for like a print on demand one, and I feel like all you have to do really is upload photos, 12
Mm,
photos, and call it a day. It can't be that
yeah.
hard.
And I think I'm gonna do similar to Thomas Heaton. I do shoot a lot of square, so I might do a square focused one. I don't know if you've seen those little desk calendars, but I'm trying to figure out a way to get those.
Oh yeah, those are cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that'd be
I
neat.
probably won't be selling those. If you ask me, I could definitely arrange getting you one, but it's mostly gonna
Oh
be as
sure.
gifts for friends and family. Um,
Okay,
if you guys want one, just let me know.
I definitely will.
Uh
And I can't wait to see that video. That sounds fun. I didn't even know you were
yeah.
gonna do that, or did that rather.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome.
I also got some probably the best deer photos I've ever taken on Monday.
Hmm.
I was out chasing a woodpecker. Well, not really chasing, but just I was tracking down a woodpecker. And there's this group of 3 bucks that came right up to me, literally like right on top of me, pretty much. I got some amazing shots, so keep an eye out for those as well. So
Cool. Yeah. Unlike you, I haven't really been going out with the camera at all. It's been about a week or two.
uh,
I take these weird breaks for a few weeks, and then I go out for like several times a week. It's weird,
mm,
but it's really cool. I'm glad to hear you got some good shots.
yeah. All right.
Cool.
Well,
Thank you
thank you
so
guys for
much,
watching today.
and leave us a review on whatever platform of choice. If you can leave a review, I think Apple Podcasts you can.
Yeah, you can leave a review on all major platforms. I'm pretty sure. So,
Okay.
um,
Cool. Cool.
yeah,
Or leave us a
and make sure.
comment if you're listening on YouTube or
Yep.
watching.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
if you'd like to be on the show or if you have an idea, just let us know. Our DMs are always open. You can hit us up on our uh, podcast account or our personal accounts. Just, we're always
Instagram,
open to ideas.
email. Yeah, definitely. So
Uh-huh.
just like this episode was made possible.
Yes. All right.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well,
Well, thanks so much.
thank, thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for watching the All Outdoors Photography Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and the video version on YouTube as well. You can subscribe down below, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you.